All right, so for this video, we're going to practice or learn about multiplying fractions and mixed numbers. But before I get into these steps, I am going to show you a video on multiplying fractions, okay? And then we'll go into the steps and some examples.
Multiplying fractions. You know how we do. Yeah. Peace, y'all. Hope you're feeling all right. Today you're gonna see fractions get multiplied. Okay, so here's how it starts. First, you gotta group up the same parts. The two numerators, those are on top. Multiply them together, yeah, but don't stop. The two denominators, the ones down below, you've still got to get the product of those. There's your answer, top and bottom. So simplify by any common factors if you spot them. 1/4 times 2/5. But 1 times 2 is at the top of the list. Then 4 times 5 leaves you 20. Simplify down to 1/10 there, buddy. And here's a curveball, just to have fun. When you have a whole number, place it on 1. Multiply across the top, then across the bottom. Simplify your answer. Yep, now you got it. Multiply fractions. But you can play it cool if you need to multiply. This is all you gotta do. Multiply across the top, then across the bottom. Simplify your answer. Yep, now you got it. Multiply fractions. But you can play it cool if you need to multiply, this is all you gotta do. Okay, now I was hanging out, I had 4 friends next to me. One of them hands me a cake recipe. Let me see. Uh-oh, it serves 10, but I'm only serving 5. What should I do then? Since I need 1/2 of some other fractions, that means multiplication is the action. The original calls for 2/3 of a cup of sugar. Here's what we do first. Multiply 2/3 times 1/2. I'm sure by now that you know how to do the math. That's 2 times 1 over 3 times 2. Gives you 2 over 6, you know what to do. Simplify that, you're left with 1/3. Now you can bake the cake and make sure that it tastes good and it's not too sweet. Who'd have thought multiplying fractions can help you eat? Multiply across the top, then across the bottom. Simplify your answer. Yep, now you got it. Multiply fractions. But you can play it cool if you need to multiply. This is all you gotta do. Multiply across the top, then across the bottom. Simplify your answer. Yep, now you got it. Multiply fractions. But you can play it cool if you need to multiply them, this is all you gotta do. You know, it's crazy if you think about it. Multiplying fractions is easier than adding or subtracting fractions. Yo, DJ Pythagoras, get busy on him, son. Multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions.
Okay, so now we're just going to take a look at some actual problems, and I do have the steps here too. Instead of multiplying across the top, I just have top times top, and instead of multiplying across the bottom, I have bottom times bottom. It's the same thing. So for fractions, again, step 1 is multiply across the top, and then multiply across the bottom, and then we're going to simplify what we have, guys. Now, if you can't simplify, don't sweat it. I just need to make sure you know how to multiply fractions. All right, this little dot again means times. I like to use it a lot. You may also see the time symbol, but I use the dot a lot. So I'm going to multiply across the top, you get 6. Multiply across the bottom, you get 15. I'm not concerned about whether or not you can simplify it. We'll just stick with 6/15. Now, when you multiply or divide fractions, you do not need a common denominator. Common denominators are only needed for addition and subtraction, guys. You got to have the same pieces to add something or the same pieces to subtract. I can't say 7 people plus 2 pencils make something. Or what do you make? You still 7 pencils and 2 people. But I can say 7 pencils and 2 pencils make 9 pencils. So that's why when you add or subtract, the parts have to be the same. And when you multiply or divide, you don't. All right, so if you wanted to simplify, these are both divisible by 3. But I'm just concerned about, can you get to 6 over 15? But if you divide them both by 3, you get 2 over 5. I'll show you another way to simplify. 6 is the same as 2 times 3. And 15 is the same as 3 times 5. You can cancel out the parts that are the same. And you're left with 2 over 5. All right, now, That's all you do for fractions. Now, if you had something like 5 times 3/5, 5 is a whole number, but in the video, it'll tell you if you see a whole number, just place it over 1 and then times 3/5. And I can do the top. Top times top is 15. And then bottom times bottom, 1 times 5 is 5. But 15 is divisible by 5. Because if I skip count by 5 3 times, I can go from 5 to 15. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay. Again, basically what I'm trying to show you is if you have a whole number, just place it over 1 when you're multiplying, okay? Okay, let's get into changing mixed numbers to improper fractions. Because to multiply fractions, you can only have a top and a top and a bottom and a bottom. You can't have this number out here on the side. So if you have a mixed number, you got to get rid of that number on the side so that you only have a top and a bottom. So how do you get rid of that number on the side? So you have mixed numbers. This is what you're going to have to do first. You can change this to an improper fraction. So what you do is you start with 2 times 3. You multiply that. That gives you 6. And then you want to add the 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. So we end up with 7. And you keep your denominator. 7 over 2. Okay, I'm going to go over another example that looks like that. So I'm going to do 1, but 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3. But you got to add the 2. That gives us 5. So we end up with 5 over 3. So you multiply the denominator and the whole number. So I got 6, and then I added 1. That's how I got the 7 for the numerator. Here I multiplied the denominator and the whole number and got 3, and I added the 2. That's how I got 5, which is my numerator. Okay? You always keep your denominator. So that should help us with how to change mixed numbers to improper fractions. And then once you get them where they only have a top and a bottom and no whole number on the outside or large number, you just do top times top and bottom times bottom, and then you simplify. So let's take a look at 1 1/2 times 3 1/2. Well, 1 1/2, I'm going to say 2 times 1. And let me write this where it's not so large. 2 times 1 is 2. And then I'm going to go around and I'm going to add the 1. All right, so I have 2 plus 1, which is 3. So my top number will be 3, and I keep the same denominator, 2. All right, for this one, I'm going to say 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 7. And then I'm going to add the 1. 7 plus 1 is 8. So my new top number is 8. And I keep the 2. Keep your denominators, okay? Remember, when you're multiplying or dividing, you do not need a common denominator. Just go with top times top and bottom times bottom. That's 4. Well, if you go from 4 to 24, this will divide evenly. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. To get from 4 to 24, we had to skip count 6 times. So that's just 6. If it doesn't divide evenly, it won't come out like this. You can't get from 4 to 20. Suppose if this were like 26 over 24, the next number would be 28. There's no way to get from 4 to 26. So all you could do is simplify it, and it wouldn't be a whole number, okay? You could divide them both by like 2. Because 26 is 2 times 13, and 4 is 2 times 2. That would give you 13 over 2. Simplified. But since that's a 24, and you can get to 24 by skip counting by 4s, you end up with a whole number. Okay, let's take a look at these two. This, just do top times top, you get 12, and bottom times bottom, you get 63. Now, if you can't simplify it, fine, just leave it as 12 over 63. But I will tell you that both of these are divisible by 3. 3 times 4 gives you 12. And 3 times 21 gives you 63. We'll end up with 4 over 21. Some of you will just notice that they're both divisible by 3. All right, if you look at the next example, if you have a whole number, place it over 1. Let's get that out of the way. And top times top is 28, and bottom times bottom is 8. If all you can get to is this, now remember, you're good. I just need you to know top times top and bottom times bottom. Not necessarily concerned about the simplification part yet. Okay. Guys, I'm going to tell you when your top number is larger, and this is in your answer. If you have an answer where the top number is larger and the bottom number is smaller, it's what we call an improper fraction. I want you to TIBO and change it to a mixed number, okay? TIBO it and then change it to a mixed number. All right, so the top number is larger and the bottom number is smaller. So I'm going to TIBO top in, bottom out. Only do that if the top number is larger and the bottom number is smaller. Make sure you write that down. That's for your answer. That's what you get in an answer. So I'm going to work on some division. 24, skip counting. All right, you can't go 8 into 2. If you only have 2 things, you can't make a group of 8. How close can I get to 28 without going over? That's 24. That's 1, 2, 3. So that'd be 3 and subtract 24. Nothing left to bring down. I'm going to write this as a mixed number. That's 3 and 4 over 8. If you can't simplify 4/8 to 1/2, fine. I'm not concerned about that right now. Just be able to get to 3 and 4/8, okay? It does simplify to 3 and 1/2, but I am concerned that you just make it here for me, okay? Just make it there for me. All right, let's take a look at this next example. That's a mixed number, so I'm going to multiply. 4 times 1 is 4. Then I'm going to add that 1 at the top. 4 plus 1 is 5. So this is 5 over 4 times 2 over 3. And I can do top times top and get 10. And bottom times bottom and get 12. Now, as long as you can get the 10 12s, we're good. If you know how to simplify, great. I'm going to say 10 is 2 times 5. And I can write this as a 2 times 6. You could have said 3 times 4, but if you say 3 times 4, 3 and 4 are not in my numerator. A 2 is in my numerator, so I'm going to use 2 times 6. These will cancel, leaving me with 5 6. Or you can say both of these are divisible by 2. Okay, you get 5 6. But again, if you could just make it to 10 12s for me, we're good. Okay? I'm not concerned about the simplification right now. Just do we know the multiplication process for fractions and mixed numbers? All right, I'm going to add one more to this in just a minute. I'm going to change this mixed number so that it only has a top and a bottom, so I can do top times top and bottom times bottom. Okay, so here we have 2 times 2, which is 4. And then I'm going to add the 1, which is 5. So I'm going to end up with 5 over 2. Keep the same denominator, remember. And then that's times 3, but the whole numbers go over 1. So now I end up with 15 on the top. Top times top is 15. Bottom times bottom is 2. Well, this goes back to this, 15 over 2. Your top number is larger than your bottom one. Top number is larger, bottom number is smaller. So I want you to TIBO and change it to a mixed number for me. Top in, bottom out. And I'm just going to skip count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, okay? 2 won't go into 1, but 2 will go into 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Subtract the 14. So this ends up being 7 and then 1 over 2. 7 and 1/2. But only TIBO if the top number is larger and the bottom number is smaller, okay? Like there's no need to TIBO on this one because the top number isn't larger. The bottom number isn't smaller, okay? The top number is smaller. So just leave it like that or simplify to 5 6 if you know how to simplify. But you can't change it to a mixed number because the top number isn't larger. Okay, I'm going to make up one. So let's do 3 and 1/2 times 1 and 2/3. So I'm going to say 3 times 2 or 2 times 3 is 6. And then I'm going to add the 1. I get 7. So that's 7 over 2 times. Here, 3 times 1 is 3. And then I'm going to add the 2, and that's 5. Keep your same denominator. So top times top, 7 times 5 is 35, and 2 times 3, bottom times bottom is 6. Well, now the top number is larger and the bottom number is smaller. So I'm going to TIBO, top in, bottom out. Take the bottom number, put it out, top number, put it in. And I'm going to just skip count by 12s. If you got a multiplication chart, you can just list them from the multiplication chart. 6 won't go into 3. But how close can I get to 35 without, oh, that's too big. How close can I get to 35 without going over? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Subtract the 30. And I'm going to leave this as a mixed number. So this ends up being 5 and then 5 over 6. And I'm done. That's how you multiply fractions and mixed numbers. I'm going to say that.